The sound of metal heels clinking against polished floors echoed through the observation deck of the Argonaut, humanity's flagship research vessel. Commander Helena Arlen strode briskly past rows of holographic monitors, each flickering with data from distant regions of the galaxy. Her team of scientists and engineers worked quietly but intently, their faces bathed in the cool blue glow of their terminals. "Status report," Helena called out, her voice cutting through the hum of machinery. Dr. Amir Nasser, the ship's lead astrophysicist, swiveled his chair to face her. His dark eyes gleamed with barely concealed excitement. "Commander, we've pinpointed it. The anomaly in Sector 17 at 1. It's not a natural phenomenon. It's something else." Helena arched an eyebrow. "Define something else, Doctor?" Amir hesitated for a moment, as if searching for the right words. "The energy readings suggest a structure, Commander. Artificial and old. Older than any known civilization in the Galactic Assembly." The hum of conversation in the room ceased. Every head turned toward Amir. "Are you certain?" Helena asked, stepping closer to his console. Amir tapped a few keys, bringing up a holographic projection of the anomaly. It resembled a vast latticework of glowing strands, suspended in the void like a web of frozen lightning. It shimmered with faint, iridescent colors that shifted unpredictably, as if alive. "This is a gravimetric scan of the structure," Amir explained. "The energy emissions are off the charts, but what's more intriguing is their frequency. It matches no known technology." "Could it be Valorian?" One of the junior engineers asked hesitantly. Amir shook his head. "Valorian constructs are highly symmetrical and radiate in harmonic patterns. This is chaotic. It doesn't fit any species profile." Helena studied the image, her mind racing. Humanity's history in the galaxy was short compared to the elder races of the Assembly, yet their ingenuity had often surprised their counterparts. Still, stumbling across a relic of this magnitude was unprecedented. "Helmsman," she called, "adjust our course to bring us within sensor range of the structure. Dr. Nasser, I want a detailed analysis as soon as we're close enough. Notify the United Terran Council and prepare for possible first contact protocols." Amir glanced at her. "You think there's someone still out there?" Helena's gaze lingered on the projection of the anomaly. "If they built this, Doctor, then they were far ahead of anyone in the galaxy. If they're still out there, we need to know." Hours later, the Argonaut approached the edge of the structure. As they drew closer, its sheer scale became evident. What had appeared to be a delicate web in the holograms was, in reality, a colossal network of conduits and nodes, each the size of a small moon. It stretched across millions of kilometers, dwarfing the Argonaut in everything in the immediate vicinity. The crew stared in awe as the ship's external lights illuminated the surface of the nearest node. Its texture was unlike anything they had ever seen, smooth yet riddled with intricate geometric patterns that seemed to shift and realign when observed for too long. "It's incredible," Amir whispered. "This isn't just a construct. It's alive in some way." "Alive?" Helena asked sharply. "Explain." Amir gestured to the data streaming across his console. "The patterns we're seeing aren't static. They're reacting to our presence. It's subtle, but the energy fluctuations indicate a form of awareness." "Commander," the communications officer interrupted, "we're picking up a signal. It's faint, but it's definitely originating from the structure." Helena moved swiftly to the communications console. "What kind of signal?" The officer adjusted the settings, isolating the frequency. "It's not a language, at least not one we recognize. It's more like music." complex, layered, and repeating in cycles. Patch it through. The bridge filled with a hauntingly beautiful sound, a symphony of notes that seemed to defy the limitations of human instruments. The melody was both alien and oddly familiar, evoking emotions that the crew couldn't quite name. Is it trying to communicate? Helena wondered aloud. Possibly, Amir said. Or it could be an automated beacon. Either way, it's been broadcasting for a very, very long time. Helena's mind whirred with possibilities. If this structure was ancient, then its creators might hold the key to technologies or knowledge that could revolutionize humanity's standing in the galaxy. But there was also danger. Approaching such an artifact without understanding it could provoke unintended consequences. "Launch a probe," she ordered. "Let's see how it reacts." A minute later, a sleek metallic probe shot out from the Argonaut's launch bay, heading toward the nearest node. The crew watched tensely as it approached the surface, transmitting high-resolution images and data back to the ship. As the probe closed the final distance, the structure responded. Brilliant tendrils of light emerged from the surface, enveloping the probe in a cocoon of energy. The ship's sensors spiked with activity. "Energy surge," Amir shouted. "It's interacting with the probe." Helena held her breath as the tendrils retracted, leaving the probe intact but altered. Its outer casing now shimmered with the same iridescent patterns as the structure. "What just happened?" she demanded. "It's rewriting the probe," Amir said, his voice trembling with excitement. "Reconfiguring it. I don't think it sees us as a threat." Before anyone could respond, the ship's systems flickered. The lights dimmed, and the holographic displays glitched, replaced by a single image, a symbol composed of concentric circles and angular lines. It pulsed with the same rhythm as the musical signal. "It's hacking us," the communications officer said, panic in his voice. "No," Helena said, watching the symbol. "It's introducing itself." For the next 3 days, the Argonaut remained stationed near the structure, gathering data and attempting to decode the symbol and the musical signal. It was Amir who finally made the breakthrough. "It's a map," he explained to Helena in the briefing room, pointing to the holographic projection of the symbol. "The circles represent star systems, and the lines indicate pathways between them. But there's one system here, at the center, that doesn't match anything in our databases." Helena studied the map. "A hidden system?" "More like a forgotten one," Amir said. "The structure seems to be guiding us there." "Ah, she asked, her tone wary. "What's waiting for us?" "Eat," Amir said with a grin, "is the big question." Helena leaned back in her chair, weighing the risks. The discovery was already monumental, but if this map led to something even ammonia-resistant, they couldn't afford to ignore it. "All right," she said finally. "Plot a course. Let's see where this takes us." As the Argonaut prepared to leave, the structure pulsed with one final surge of energy, sending a wave of light rippling across the void. It was as if it were bidding them farewell, or perhaps issuing a warning. Whatever lay ahead, Helena knew one thing for certain. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and their place among the stars was about to change forever. The Argonaut's engines hummed with subdued power as the ship entered subspace, following the map transmitted by the ancient structure. The crew worked tirelessly, deciphering the remaining data streams and analyzing the map's intricacies. Commander Helena Arlen observed their efforts from her position on the bridge, her thoughts a mixture of excitement and trepidation. It had been decades since humanity first ventured into the galaxy, earning its place among the elder species of the Galactic Assembly. Yet, for all their technological and diplomatic advances, they had never encountered anything like this, A discovery of such magnitude could change everything, or destroy them. "Commander," Dr. Amir Nassar's voice crackled over the intercom, "we're approaching the destination. You might want to see this." Helena straightened and turned to the helmsman. "Take us out of subspace." The ship shuddered slightly as it re-entered normal space. When the view cleared, a collective gasp rippled through the bridge crew. Before them stretched a star system unlike any they had seen before. The central star was a pulsating white dwarf, surrounded by a swirling halo of multicolored gas and debris. Orbiting this celestial core was an array of colossal structures, Dyson-like rings and interlinked megastructures that gleamed with the same iridescent patterns as the ancient artifact. "It's beautiful," Amir said as he entered the bridge, his eyes wide. "It's also ancient," Helena murmured, stepping closer to the viewing screen. "This star should have burned out millennia ago. Whatever stabilized it, we're looking at technology far beyond anything in the Assembly's grasp." The ship's sensors began streaming data to their consoles. The system's outermost planet was a shattered husk, its fragments suspended in orbit by gravitational tethers that defied natural laws. The inner planets, though intact, were desolate, their surfaces scorched and pitted with signs of conflict. "Commander," said Lieutenant Solis, the tactical officer, "I'm detecting faint energy signatures on the fourth planet. It's consistent with active technology." Helena's heart raced. A civilization." "Unlikely," Solis replied. "The readings are weak, more like automated systems than anything alive." "Set a course for the fourth planet," Helena ordered. "Dr. Nasser, assemble a landing team. I want boots on the ground as soon as we're in orbit." As the Argonaut settled into orbit, the team prepared to descend. The landing craft, EOS, was a sleek vessel outfitted with the latest exploration technology. Its crew included Dr. Nasser, 2 engineers, and a small security detail led by Lieutenant Carla Reyes. The descent through the atmosphere was turbulent. The planet's skies were choked with ash and storm clouds, remnants of some cataclysmic event. When the craft broke through the dense atmosphere, a barren wasteland came into view. Jagged mountain ranges rose from the ground like the spines of some long-dead beast, and rivers of molten rock snaked across the surface. "We've found the source of the energy readings," Nasser said, pointing to the scanner. "It's concentrated in a valley up ahead." The EOS touched down on a flat expanse near the valley's edge. The team disembarked, their boots crunching against the blackened soil. Reyes swept the area with her rifle, her posture tense. "Keep your guard up," she warned. "This place doesn't feel right." The group advanced cautiously, following the scanner's guidance. The landscape grew more surreal as they entered the valley. Massive crystalline structures jutted from the ground, their surfaces glowing faintly with the same iridescent patterns they had seen before. "Commander," Nasser said over the comms, "you're not going to believe this. These crystals, they're transmitting data." Helena's voice crackled back. "What kind of data?" Encoded, but it's old, possibly as old as the artifact we found. I'll need time to analyze it." Reyes held up a hand, signaling the group to stop. "Hold on, we've got movement up ahead." The team froze, their weapons raised. In the distance, a shadow shifted among the crystalline structures. It was humanoid in shape, but unnaturally tall, with elongated limbs that moved fluidly, almost like liquid. Its body shimmered with the same iridescent light as the crystals. "Is that alive?" whispered one of the engineers. Before anyone could answer, the figure turned toward them. Its face, or what passed for a face, was a blank slate. But the intensity of its gaze was unmistakable. It tilted its head as if studying them, then extended a hand. "It's not attacking," Nasser said cautiously. "It's inviting us." Reyes tightened her grip on her rifle, "or luring us into a trap." Helena's voice came through the comms again. "Proceed carefully, but maintain communication. If it's intelligent, this could be the first direct contact with the artifact's creators." Taking a deep breath, Nasser stepped forward, his hands raised in a gesture of peace. The figure remained still, its hand outstretched. When Nasus was within arm's reach, the figure touched his chest with a single, glowing finger. A surge of light enveloped Nasser, and he collapsed. "Doctor!" Reyes shouted, rushing forward. Nasser's body convulsed, his eyes glowing with the same iridescence. Then, as suddenly as it began, the light faded. He sat up, gasping for air. "Are you okay?" Reyes asked, helping him to his feet. "I'm fine," Nasser said, though his voice trembled. It showed me something." "What did you see?" Helena demanded over the comms. Nasser looked at the figure, which had retreated into the crystalline forest. A war that spanned galaxies. They were the architects, the creators of this system and countless others. They fought to preserve their knowledge, their existence. But they lost. And now, they're gone. "Except for this place," Helena said, "a monument to what they once were." Nasser nodded. "But it's more than a monument. It's a message, a warning. The creators weren't just fighting for themselves. They were fighting against something that still exists." The team exchanged uneasy glances. "We need to leave," Reyes said firmly. "Whatever's here, we're not ready for it." "Not yet," Nasser replied. He turned to the crystalline structures. "There's more here, something they left behind for us to find. If we walk away now, we'll never know what it is." Helena's voice carried through the comms, resolute. "Doctor, do what you need to, but be quick about it. We don't know how much time we have." Nasser approached the crystals again, his hands trembling as he touched their surface. Patterns of light danced across the structure, responding to his presence. Data flowed into his scanner, lines of alien code that seemed to rewrite themselves as he watched. "They're giving us something," he said, his voice filled with awe. "Blueprints, schematics, technologies we can't even begin to comprehend." "Then take it and go," Reyes urged. As the data transfer completed, the ground beneath them began to tremble. The crystalline structures pulsed with blinding light, and a deep, resonant hum filled the air. "Time's up!" Reyes shouted. "Everyone back to the ship!" The team ran, the crystalline structures collapsing behind them. The figure they had encountered watched silently, its form dissolving into the light. As the Eos ascended, the valley below erupted in a cascade of energy. The planet itself seemed to shift, its surface folding inward as if being consumed by the very structures they had discovered. Back aboard the Argonaut, Helena watched the destruction unfold on the main view screen. "Status?" "The data's intact," Nasser said, clutching his scanner. "But the planet? It's gone." The crew stared in silence as the planet's remains were swallowed by the iridescent energy, leaving only the pulsating white dwarf at the system's core. Helena turned to her crew, her expression grim. "We've opened a door to something far bigger than ourselves. Let's hope we're ready for whatever comes next." The Argonaut was silent as it drifted on the edge of the forgotten star system. The shock of what the crew had witnessed, the collapse of a planet, and the remnants of a civilization whose technology defied comprehension, hung in the air like a dense fog. Commander Helena Arlen sat in her quarters, poring over the data transmitted by Dr. Amir Nasser. The glowing projections on her desk painted an intricate map of blueprints, star charts, and patterns that twisted and reformed as though alive. A soft chime announced a visitor. "Enter," Helena said, not looking up. The door slid open and Amir stepped in. He looked exhausted, but determined, his usual composure replaced with a frenetic energy. "You should be resting," Helena said, gesturing for him to sit. Amir shook his head. "There's no time for that. You need to see this." He placed his tablet on the desk, and a cascade of data filled the space between them. "What am I looking at?" Helena asked. Amir leaned forward, his voice hushed as though afraid the ship itself might hear. "It's a fail-safe, a message hidden in the schematics we downloaded. It's not just technology, Commander. It's a directive." Helen's eyes narrowed. "A directive from whom?" "From the architects," Amir said, referring to the ancient builders of the system. "They encoded it in layers of data, almost like a time capsule. It's incomplete, but from what I've pieced together, they left this message for anyone who might find it." Helena frowned. "What does it say?" Amir hesitated. They weren't just creators, they were protectors. The structures we found were part of a vast defense network designed to combat something they called the Null. It's not clear exactly what the Null is, whether it's a force of nature, a sentient entity, or a machine, but they described it as a devourer of life and knowledge, something that consumes and erases everything in its path. Helena leaned back, her mind racing. "And they failed." Amir nodded grimly. "Yes. The system we just left was one of their last strongholds. When the Null reached them, they enacted a contingency plan. They hid their most advanced technologies and encrypted their warnings, hoping someone, someday, would be able to finish what they started." A cold silence settled over the room. Helena felt the weight of the revelation pressing down on her. "What else is in the message?" she asked finally. Amir tapped his tablet, bringing up a star map. A single system blinked at the edge of the galaxy, marked with an unfamiliar glyph. "This," he said, "is where they intended their knowledge to be used. A hidden system, shielded from detection. If the schematics are correct, it contains the key to activating the rest of their network." Helena studied the map. "And what happens if we activate it?" Amir's face was solemn. "We either awaken a defense system powerful enough to repel the Null, or we bring its attention directly to us." The crew of the Argonaut was briefed the following morning. The atmosphere in the briefing room was tense as Helena addressed them. "I won't sugarcoat this," she said. "We've stumbled upon something far bigger than ourselves. The data we've collected suggests that an ancient threat still lingers in the galaxy. The architects failed to stop it, but they left behind tools that might give us a fighting chance. We've been given a destination, but I'll be honest, I don't know what we'll find when we get there. This mission is voluntary. If anyone wants to return to Sol, I won't hold it against you." The room was silent. Then Lieutenant Reyes stood. "We're with you, Commander," she said firmly. "All of us." A murmur of agreement followed, and Helena nodded, her chest swelling with pride. "Very well," she said. "Set a course for the marked system. Let's finish what the architects started."
The journey through subspace was uneventful, but tension simmered beneath the surface. The crew worked tirelessly to analyze the data Amir had decoded, uncovering fragments of the architect's story.
"They weren't perfect," Amir admitted to Helena during one of their late-night discussions. "Their war against the Null wasn't just defensive. They tried to use the Null's power for their own purposes. That's what doomed them in the end. Helena frowned. Hubris. Amir nodded. Exactly. We need to be careful. If we misuse what we find, we might face the same fate. When the Argonaut finally emerged into normal space, the crew was greeted by a sight that left them speechless. The hidden system was dominated by a massive structure, a Dyson Sphere that encased its star, radiating energy and light. Unbelievable, Amir whispered. A functioning Dyson Sphere. It's a masterpiece of engineering. The Argonaut approached cautiously, its sensors scanning the sphere's surface. It was covered in intricate patterns, similar to those on the crystalline structures they had seen before, but these glowed with an intensity that suggested they were fully operational. "Commander," Solis reported, "we're detecting a docking station on the sphere's outer shell. It looks active." "Take us in," Helena ordered. As the ship maneuvered closer, the docking station came into view. It was enormous, designed for vessels far larger than the Argonaut. A shimmering energy field surrounded the entrance, and as they drew near, it flickered and parted, allowing them through. The docking bay was a cavernous space filled with ancient machinery. The walls were lined with towering spires that pulsed with a rhythmic light. "Atmosphere is breathable," Solis said, reading from her console. "Prepare an away team," Helena said. "Let's see what's waiting for us." The team stepped onto the sphere's surface, their footsteps echoing in the vast chamber. Amir scanned the area with his portable device, his excitement palpable. "This place is incredible," he said. "The energy readings alone could power Earth for centuries."
As they moved deeper into the structure, they came upon a central chamber. In the center of the room was a pedestal, and atop it rested a glowing sphere of light.
"This must be it," Amir said, approaching cautiously. The sphere pulsed as he reached out, and a holographic projection filled the room. It was an image of the architects. Tall, elegant beings with translucent skin and eyes that glimmered like stars. The projection spoke in a language that none of them understood, but the sphere translated, its voice resonant and melodic. "To those who find this place," it said, "know that you stand at the precipice of our legacy. We were the first to chart the stars, the first to build wonders beyond imagining. But we were also the first to fall. The Null is patient, relentless, and without mercy. If you have found this message, then you are our successors. Use what we have left wisely, or you will share our fate." The projection ended, and the sphere dimmed. "What now?" Reyes asked. Amir turned to Helena. "We take it back to Earth. This is too important to leave behind." Helena nodded. "Agreed. Let's secure it and return to the ship.